We are continuing in chapter 30. Now we're at verse 29 to 31. There are three things that are stately in their stride, four that move with stately bearing. Okay, let's see what they are. First, 30. A lion, mighty among beasts, who retreats before nothing. It seems appropriate that a lion would be stately, that it would move with stately bearing, that it would know that it is innately powerful, that it is king over all that it surveys. And so the lion appropriately moves with stately bearing. Okay, I make this because we're going to contrast this with the next two. So, a strutting rooster, well, should roosters strut? So, from what I've heard, roosters make sure that their area is their area. They like to drive off anyone who's not a hen, other roosters, kids. They like to drive them off from their area. This is my place, and they're so proud of their place. They're going to fight for it. They're going to protect it. They're going to try to keep everything out of it. But a rooster, unlike a lion, doesn't quite have the same might. It's dangerous, particularly their little claws. I know in cockfights they put razors on them, and that's really nasty. But let's be honest. The rooster is not really all that dangerous when it comes to, say, a lion. The rooster that struts about its yard, if it tries to strut about before the lion, it's going down. Now, this reminds me of a Chihuahua. Chihuahuas always seem to want to bark and to bite. There was one that went up and it was barking at my dad, and it ran up right behind him across the street, ran up his leg and bit him on the rear end, much to my father's dismay. Now, the Chihuahua was lucky that my father is a gentleman, or was a gentleman. He is because he's in heaven now, but is a gentleman because he didn't kill said Chihuahua. Well, the rooster is the same way. Eventually, the rooster may end up as yummy food, fried chicken, but the rooster is fortunate that the farmer has a use for him, right? And the farmer doesn't just split him when the rooster gets annoying, or the dogs, or the dogs protect him rather than attacking him. And yet, like the lion, the rooster struts with the same stately bearing. I'm king of all I behold. Well, it is king of all I behold because others hold back from crushing it. Okay? So, which leads us to the he-goat. Similar to the rooster, similar to the lion, it's a male, so it wants the females to itself. It wants to rule over its area. I've heard of goats running into people and butting them. Much larger on scale than roosters, smaller than the lion. It's kind of in the midst here. Moderately powerful creature. And yet it treats it the same way as the powerful lion, deserving of his stately bearing, the strutting rooster, boop, 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 not deserving of its stately bearing, and the not so stately but still thinks he's stately he-goat that goes running into people and butting them. Okay? He moves with pride. Everyone's going to get out of my way. They're going to do what I want. I'm a he-goat. Okay? Which leads us to why the writer wrote this. And the final thing is, and a king with his army around him. So a king, some kings have been stately in and of themselves. They're like the lion. Some kings are little bandercock roosters that strut about and stick out their chest. Some kings are moderately powerful kings who run about and they are what they are. But the king always considers himself to be great. Why? Because there's power at his back. So it is not innate greatness. It is the greatness of those who support him, the greatness of his army. And you bow before him not because you're afraid of the king, but you're afraid of the king, the whole army, the whole panoply that goes with the king. And so we treat him, he expects to be treated as the top dog, the king of the hill. He expects to be treated with respect and honor and for us to bow before him. But it isn't because it is innate to him. It is because of what is behind him. And we see this a lot, not just with kings, but with rich people and technocrats and those who own businesses. And you can just run through the person who is very egotistical, and you're looking at them and thinking, my, what do they have to be egotistical about? Well, because they have wealthy parents. That's why they're egotistical, and they think that that gives them power. Or because they have a badge, and they know that they have the power of the law behind them. And the problem is, some people who are in these places, they deserve that kind of respect. They've earned it. God has given them great gifts. But some, they don't seem to really deserve it in themselves. They have this power, this respect because of their position, because of what they have control over. And yet, we as people should realize that they expect that kind of treatment. And then we've got to analyze the situation. The king who is great in himself and the king who is not great in himself both need to be treated the same way, right? Don't anger them. Be careful around them. Power has accumulated and accrued to them. Whether they are despicable, pitiful, or they're awesome, mighty, or they're just like you and me, we've got to be careful because they have an army at their back. And you've got to be careful. So if a police officer comes up to your car, he may well demand and deserve to be treated with respect. And so you roll down your window and you treat them as a stately person. You're very careful not to scare them. You say sir or ma'am. You act in a very respectful manner because they have the entire panoply of the law behind them. And they can certainly do and cause a lot of trouble for you. Okay? So that's the advice Azure. Lemuel is our next guy coming up. Azure gives to us in this proverb. 32. If you have played the fool and exalted yourself, or if you have planned evil, clap your hand over your mouth. It's hard for me to do my video if I do that. For as churning the milk produces butter, and as twisting the nose produces blood, twisting the nose produces blood. I haven't ever twisted my nose, but certainly punching the nose has produced blood. Wrestling rooms, you often got bloody noses, partially due to the heat, I think, and etc. But you'd ram your face into something and then you'd have to stop the bleeding. Anyway, as twisting the nose produces blood, so stirring up anger produces strife. So the first, if you're a fool and you've exalted yourself, if you're like the strutting rooster of the previous verse, that's going to cause problems. People are going to get angry at it. They don't like to see a fool looking down on them. If you have planned evil, don't let it out. Because when you let the evil out, it's going to cause trouble. And so just as surely as if you stir the milk, you're going to get butter. Just as surely as if you hit the nose, you're going to get blood. If you keep doing these things, if you keep acting the fool and putting yourself over people, you're going to have words and violence occur. If you keep planning evil and letting it out, attacking other people, attacking their reputation, planning ways to cause them problems, they're going to respond with violence. So don't do it. We're going to stop there. We will continue our final video for today with chapter 31.